Dear student, we'll be talking about nervous system part 2, where we'll be talking about the study of brain and the central nervous system. So central nervous system comprises a spinal cord and brain, which are covered by a membrane called meninges. Meninges has three different layers: dura mater, the outermost; arachnoid, the middle one; pia mater, the innermost. And they are the arachnoid and pia mater has a space between them, which is called subarachnoid space, and it is filled by cerebrospinal fluid. CSF is a clear, slightly alkaline fluid that circulate in brain cavities. It allows exchange of respiratory gases. It provides nourishment. It carry excretory product. It absorbs the mechanical shock. It maintain constant pressure and resist all type of fluctuation. Now there are important terms that you must know before you study the brain. Foramen is the small hole or opening in the bony structure of the body through which the nerves and vein can or arteries can pass through. You must have heard about this in the skeletal system. Nuclei in the neurotomy. Nuclei are the cluster of neurons in CNS, basically consist of cell bodies located in cerebral hemisphere and brainstem. Nerve tract, they are the bundles of nerve fiber originating and terminating at the same place. Nerve plexus, the branching network of intersecting nerve and blood vessels or lymphatic vessels. Do you know that sciatic nerve is the largest nerve in your body? Now ventricles, what are ventricles in neuroanatomy? They are the cavities in the brain filled with the cerebrospinal fluid, and they are present in the brain. Now arrangement of neuron in central nervous system. So the neurons are arranged and form gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is formed by the accumulation of cell body of neurons. White matter is formed by the accumulation of nerve fiber, mainly composed of fatty myelin tissue. In brain, the gray matter is situated on the surface, whereas in spinal cord it forms the central canal. Whereas the white matter in brain is located deep inside, and in the spinal cord it is located outside. Now let's talk about the brain. Brain consists of 1350 gram as a weight, 1.5 which is roughly 1.5 kg, and contain 8.6 billions of nerve cells, and it is protected by cranium. Now we study the brain in three different parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain is also known as prosencephalon, midbrain mesencephalon, hindbrain rhobencephalon. Brain stem means the midbrain plus medulla oblongata and pons villi. This whole portion is called brain stem, and the brain stem connect the brain to the rest of your body. Now let's study the forebrain. So it has different parts: olfactory lobes, diencephalon, cerebrum and hypothalamus. Olfactory lobes receive sense of smell. Diencephalon consists of two parts, thalamus and epithalamus, and it is diencephalon consists of thalamus and epithalamus, and it also comprises third ventricle. It is present between cerebrum and mesencephalon. Now cerebrum, which is called largest part of the brain, its outer region, is densely packed, which forms cerebral cortex, and it has sensory and motor association areas where the processing of information occurs. The cerebrum is divided into two parts by a deep furrow, which is joined by corpus callosum. So corpus callosum divides the cerebrum into right hemisphere and left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is associated with creativity, and the left hemisphere is linked with the logic abilities. Now look at the corpus. It also, if you look at the structure of cerebrum, it consists of various infolding or convolutions called gyri, and gyri are separated by deep depressions or grooves called sulci. This sulci and fissure, both are actually grooves, but fissure is more deeper as compared to sulci. Now, if you see forebrain, each hemisphere of the forebrain has 4 different lobes, and these lobes contains the area which help in the processing of information. So frontal lobe is associated with the processing of speech, reasoning, problem solving, and planning, all these actions. Then parietal lobe is associated with recognition of orientation, perception of stimulus. Occipital related to visual processing, and temporal with the processing of memory, speech, perception, and recognition. Now frontal lobe is separated from parietal lobe by central fissure. The parietal lobe is separated from occipital by parieto-occipital fissure, and Sulvian fissure separate the temporal from the frontal and parietal lobes. So I'll be sending you pictures for these. You can see very clearly. Now diencephalon, which consists of thalamus and epithalamus. Diencephalon consists of thalamus and epithalamus. Thalamus consists of 2 rounded mass of gray matter, and they interpret sensory and motor signal and channel them to appropriate cerebral cortex region. Epithalamus bear pineal body, and pineal body secrete melatonin hormone. So if you see the location, the roof of diencephalon is called epithalamus, its side are called thalamus, and its floor is called hypothalamus. The diencephalon encloses 3rd ventricle. Hypothalamus act as control center for many internal organs. For many control mechanism, it is associated with temperature regulation, control center for reflexes, secrete hormones, control release of hormones from pituitary gland. It has a gray matter called a hypothalamic nuclei, which consist of optic chiasma. Optic chiasma are the fiber where optic nerves cross each other. Behind optic chiasma is a grayish protuberance called infundibulum, and it at the end it bears pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is the master gland, and to the opposite side of infundibulum mammillary bodies are located, and they function as a part of limbic system in the recollection of memories. Now we will see, this is about the forebrain. Now we will see the hindbrain. So before hindbrain we will see the midbrain. Midbrain has main two portions, and it acts as a bridge to transmit the signal from the hindbrain to forebrain, and position also it is in the middle of two. So it consists of cerebral peduncles. Peduncles means a stalk, and they are the stalk-like structure that connect the cerebrum with the brain stem. They consist of pair of two thick tract of neural fibers on the ventral side hidden below temporal lobe. So this is where they are located. Then midbrain consists of corpora quadrigemina, which include a pair of solid rounded swellings which are called colliculus. So there are superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. Superior colliculus, they relay analyze visual reflexes from iris eyelid to cerebrum, and inferior colliculus, they relay analyze sensory information from ear to cerebrum. Then midbrain also comprises the cavity called cerebral aqueduct or iter, which connect the third ventricle to fourth ventricle. Now hindbrain consists of three parts: cerebellum, pons varolii and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum, which is called second largest part of brain, It coordinate contraction of skeletal muscle, regulate voluntary movement, and control the posture. So they play a great role in the skeletal muscle contraction and relaxation. Pons viruli lies just above medulla oblongata and composed of thick bundles of white nerve fiber. It connects two lobes of cerebellum and it transmits the impulse from one to the another side of the cerebellum. It has a respiratory center called pneumotactic center. Medulla oblongata is the lowermost part of brain and it encloses fourth ventricle. The medulla nuclei consist of centers such as respiratory center, gastric center, vasomotor center, and it has reflex for swallowing, vomiting, choking, salivary centers, and other respiratory centers. Medulla act as a pathway for spinal cord. So now you can look at the diagram. So I have tried to compile many things in this diagram, but I'll send you more diagrams. Here you can see this is cerebrum, this is cerebellum, and this is the brain stem. This represents the midbrain. So this is hindbrain, midbrain, and the forebrain. So cerebrum, here you can see corpus callosum, which separates the two hemispheres. Then you will find thalamus, okay, and below the the floor of the thalamus is the hypothalamus, okay. So you'll see hypothalamus over here, orange color, and pineal gland, which are part of you can say epithalamus. So sideways it is located, and then mammillary body you can see the infundibulum and pituitary gland. Then olfactory lobe, which is part of the you can say forebrain, and midbrain. So all portion of midbrain hides over here. So this is how it is organized. Now it is limbic system. Over here you can see the amygdala and hippocampus area. They are part of limbic system. Now it is the center of emotional life and critically aid in the formation of memories. So all kind of learning, whatever you memorize or rote learning or whatever, it takes place from this area. It consists of cerebrum and diencephalon. Now it consists of hippocampus, amygdala, and mammillary body. These are the main parts. Hippocampus, located in cerebrum, controls the corticosteroid production and major role in learning and memorization. Amygdala, center for coordinating behavioral response. Mammillary body is located in diencephalon and related to memory. So this is, now we will also see what are ventricle and what is the system of ventricle. They are the communicating network of cavities filled with cerebrospinal fluid. So the ventricular system, here you can see, if you look at the anterior view, it look like this. So there are two lateral ventricles, third ventricle and fourth ventricle. Two lateral ventricle located in cerebral hemisphere. These are the two lateral ventricles. Third ventricle is connected to the lateral ventricles by foramen of Monro. So here you can see foramen of Monro, and it is situated in diencephalon between right and left thalamus, whereas fourth ventricle is connected to third ventricle by cerebral aqueduct or iter, and it lies within the brain stem at the junction between pons viruli and medulla. So you can see the meninges has subarachnoid space over here, so where the cerebrospinal fluid is there. Then these are the lateral ventricles where cerebrospinal fluid is there. Then third ventricle is there. There is connection between lateral and third. Then there is connection between third and fourth, and this fluid continues. See how the CSF is circulated in the central nervous system, you can say, which comprises brain and spinal cord. And in the brain, it is flowing in the cerebrospinal fluid is flowing in the subarachnoid space, whereas inside the brain it is through the ventricle. Different ventricles are there, and in the spinal cord also it flows in the spinal cord canal. And we have already discussed what are the function of cerebrospinal fluid. We'll also discuss very brief about the blood-brain barrier. Now, the blood vessels are associated with the, you can say, circulation of CSF. This is the extracellular fluid in the brain. So they pass through this system, cerebrospinal fluid circulatory system. And the blood vessels, they are the blood vessels are, you can say, covered by the endothelial cells, okay, which are permeable. Now there are chances that the endothelial membrane may exchange certain other things which are present in the blood with the CSF. Okay, if by chance some toxic things are present in the circulatory system, then they can easily reach the brain. But it is not like that, because the endothelial cells of blood vessels which are there in the brain, they are highly, or you can say they are selectively permeable. So they will not allow the foreign particles and toxic things to move out from these endothelial membrane. So blood barrier system is the system in the brain due to which the brain is prevented from foreign particle and toxic particle, and it consists of selectively permeable endothelial cells of blood capillaries that carries blood to the brain. So here we complete with the brain. Thank you.